So what's the saying? People who don't know their history are doomed to
repeat it.
Right?
That's right.
And so here again, the value could be, hey, rather than repeating that, why don't you go and learn through history what works and what doesn't work?
Right.
That is actually just as relevant to us here today as it was back then. I looked up while you were talking. Proverbs, just so our folks know, was believed to have been written during the reign of Solomon, which would have been in the 900 BC. 900s. 900 years before the arrival of Christ onto the scene, right?
Right.
So that's 2021 years ago that he showed up, right? And then 900 years before that.
There you go.
Okay? That somebody wrote these lessons learned down that are just as relevant to us today, not just in our police work, but in our lives.
But in our lives, marriages. I mean, listen, in that book, there's something about your marriage, your children, how to deal with a neighbor. You actually uphold laws of how we are to deal with our neighbor because this book says that this is how we should deal with our neighbor. How to deal with the government, how to deal with society, how to deal with stress, how to deal with needing comfort, all the needs of man and life, they're in this book.
That's right.
And that's why we're doing this podcast, to reveal to those who will hear, those who will listen, hey, you don't have to become a burnout officer.
There you go.
That's mean and just hard and crusty and I mean, nobody can stand to be. You don't have to become that person. You can actually do this job, do it to the very best of your physical and mental ability, but have the core of your heart be set on fire with the Spirit of God. Be a light that never gets snuffed out or put out, and continue to share the light of life in the darkest places that you deal with every day. And you can develop and train yourself through the power of God by meditating on what He said about it.
Well, and I would tell officers that, and I would tell anyone watching this that, perhaps if you've never picked up this book or you've been afraid to because just it's the Bible, it's religion, it's all these other things.
Or like I hear, hey, the church would burn down if I came to church,
That's right.
Pastor. I love you, but
or this is something written.
Lightning would strike me while I sat
That's
there
right.
and said, that's not true.
And I think people also think, hey, this is something that's written to tell me how I'm wrong. The last thing I want to do is pick up something that tells me every which way I'm wrong.
Right. You already feel like you're wrong every time somebody in media opens their mouth. So
the great secret, though, is this book tells you how to be right. It tells you how you can be right.
And here's something. My next point number 2.
Right.
Many officers already do it in some degree in their life.
Talk more about
Practicing the word. They love their neighbor. The 2 commandments Jesus gave was to love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your strength.
Something bigger than yourself.
Something bigger than yourself. And then love your neighbor as yourself. Many officers already practice. My next point was going to be, you can build your spirit, encourage your spirit, develop it, train it by practicing the word. That once you read it, it's applicable. You can put it into practice.
Can I ask you something, though? And I know, I don't mean to keep throwing you off of the points, but, when we talk about love your neighbor as yourself, I think one of the great challenges for our officers, probably many people in general, is what if you don't love yourself? If you don't love yourself, isn't that what we see? People really kind of treating other people the way they think of themselves. How do you overcome that? I mean, that's the great challenge.
Again, I think that's the relevance of meditating on the Word, because many people believe that this book is going to tell them how they are unlovable and that they're just wrong and everything about them is wrong, which it doesn't. It actually tells you that you're so lovable, that God so loved. What's the favorite verse everybody holds up at football games? And
God so loved.
Well, that was until the world became very anti, Jesus, anti-Bible. But for God so loved the world, that means you, that means me, everybody in the world.
Everybody.
That He gave his only begotten Son. You are so lovable by God. Even though you may say, I'm not lovable, God says you are. Yeah, but God, why would you love me? Because I do. He doesn't have to answer you. You just need to know he does. He doesn't have to give you a reason of why he loves you. He just does. And once you understand that deep in your heart and fires your candle up, you realize that because he loves you, you can love others. That you are lovable. And he wants you to know that he loves you. He's graced your life to know that he loves you. You know, I read a verse not too long ago that says, greater love has no man than he would lay down his life for his friend. And I'd like to say greater love has no man that would lay down his life for a stranger. I mean, think about that. But our officers do it every day. Jesus did it on the cross. People that don't even know him or knew he existed, he still died for their sin. He laid down his life every day. Officers are willing to lay their life down. Now, they don't want to, but they will if it comes to that, to try to make sure that light penetrates darkness and darkness doesn't win.
Well, so let's talk about that for a second, because I think when people hear, especially officers who see the dark, dark evil that exists in this world, right? And they hear that Jesus died for my sins. All they key in on is, hey, this guy died because, and I always say this guy, right? This dude, this guy showed up, all these other things. But that's the key thing here, is that God became flesh. He became man.
Yeah.
And it's because it becomes relatable, right? He knows what you're going through.
Yeah.
He knows what it's like to have your candle burned out.
Yeah.
To be run down, to be tired, to get wore out.
He used to go up into the mountains to pray to the Father, to spend time with him, because he was
relight his candle.
Yeah, to relight
Think
his
about
candle.
that.
Yeah.
See, again, people don't talk about this enough, right? But even Jesus took time out to go recharge, to relight his candle.
Even to when his disciples could tell, hey, Pastor, you need some food. You need to eat.
You got to eat.
You're not, we can tell you're wearing your body down.
I think any homicide detective can relate to that, right?
Oh, yeah.
You need to get some sleep.
You need to get some sleep. You need to
eat
get
something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that, I don't know, that's just so crucial and such a key point. But in that, when they hear, well, Jesus died for my sins, most officers can say, well, I understand a sacrificial act, right? It's a sacrificial love. And I would tell our officers, whether you think you're loving your neighbor or not, you are sacrificially loving them every time you put that vest on and strap on your belt and go to work, right? That is a sacrificial love.
Huge.
Not only because of what you're doing, but what you're willing to do.
If you don't think that you are in sacrificial love, ask your spouse, ask your children. They'll tell you really quick.
Yeah, because they're sacrificing too.
Because they're sacrificing too.
That's right.
And they understand what you're doing. That's why they pray for you. They love you. They look for you to come home.
So let me ask you this. An officer says, okay, I can relate to that. Sacrificial love. I'm doing that. I'm walking that out in my daily job, my responsibilities, all those things. When an officer is killed in the line of duty, right? I think most officers, because I hear citizens say that, like maybe there's a pursuit over a stolen vehicle. It turns into a foot pursuit. There's an ambush. An officer gets shot, dies, right?
Right.
And then somebody will say, man, all that over a stolen car? Like, he died for a car?
Yeah. No.
Now flush that out, because, see, most officers would go, no, he didn't die for the car. He died for, and then invariably they start talking about he or she died for something bigger than that. Right. It was way bigger than the car. It was what? It was standing this line.
It was light and darkness. You can't let darkness win. So it may be a car one day, but it'll be a life the next day, a child the next day, an elderly person the next day.
So take that next step. Did the officer die, lay down their life because the person was bad? Think about that for a second. Did the officer die, lay down their life, shot, killed, line of duty death? Did that occur simply because of the badness of the person involved? Is that why did the officer chase them and risk their life just because the person was bad? It's not why the officer was doing that. The officer was doing, this is where I talk about the reason, the why, right?
Mm-hmm.
And who you're doing it for.
Right.
Right? The officer wasn't just doing it to catch the bad guy. The officer was doing it to what? To protect other people, the community, right?
Because if they do it one day, I can guarantee you they're going to do it again.
And they're doing it in service to their fellow man.
That's right.
But it's not, it's a lawbreaker, so you're doing it to do what? To restore that which has been broken.
That's right.
Well, that's what I want our officers to know. And that's what I want people watching this to know is that's really what occurred on the cross. When we
That's
talk
right.
about Christ dying for you, he didn't die for you just because you're bad, right? Because people take a guilt trip with that.
Come on, man.
Hey, man,
That's good.
I'm so bad. I put Jesus on the cross. He died because I'm a bad person, and somehow I'm supposed to feel good about that? No, it's the next step.
That's right.
He died to restore you.
That which was broken.
That which was broken.
Adam messed it up.
And I tell you what, officers know better than anybody. We are broken because we are in a broken world.
That's right.
And we tell officers that. You talked about it. You come out of the academy. You're young. You're strong.
Gung-ho.
Gung ho, right?
Yeah.
And then what happens? This job, the job, the world, the experiences you're going to have, they're going to break you down.
Yeah.
That's why we break you down in the academy to build you back up.
That's right.
This job will then break you back down again. And then this is where the great divide occurs. The job breaks the officer back down again, and who or what is there to build them back up? Who is there to light their candle again?
To get the fire going again.
And oftentimes there isn't.
There's nothing.
Because
That's
we
right.
don't talk about this.
That's right. Because it's taboo. How you doing? Good.
Living
Good.
the dream.
Living the dream, right? But what we're saying now is it can't be taboo. We have to shed it and
That's it.
share the light
That's it.
and reveal
That's it.
that these are core issues of life. If you don't connect them, you burn out. But if you connect them, you last, you burn, you're still on fire, into retirement or whatever else. You are able to continue moving forward, and you don't lose hope, you don't lose sight, and you don't lose light.
I think that's the key thing our officers need to hear. People watching this, that's what they need to hear is Jesus didn't die because you're a sinner. He died because of your sin, but he did it as a sacrifice to restore that which is broken, that which is lost.
Yeah.
And here's the key part, to restore you back to your original value.
Right.
The reason why God so loved the world, he made you.
Yeah.
God doesn't make
created
imperfect things.
That's right.
Right? If the perfect one doesn't make imperfect things, people may be made in ways that humans view them as being imperfect, broken, distorted, whatever the case may be. That's a perfection of God no matter what. But this world then breaks the human.
Yeah.
And at some point, God is so grieved by that he's going to give the greatest treasure that he has, his son.
Yeah.
Any parent can relate
Himself.
to this.
That's right.
Any parent of a fallen officer can relate to this. Gives their son, their daughter, as a sacrifice to restore that which is broken, to restore you to your original value, the value that he has for
That's
you.
right.
That is a love like no other.
Like no other. So, wrapping this up today, maybe you're an officer no matter where you are right now and you're watching this, listening to us, and you feel burnt out. Get close to the source of the flame that never dies. You know, we call it things an eternal flame. They're really not eternal. I mean, somebody still has to supply some
as long as you
fuel,
keep paying the gas
as long
bill.
as you pay
That's
that
right.
gas bill. But there really is a true eternal flame. One. And he can light your fire. He can light your candle and keep it lit. The spirit of man is the candle of the Lord. So we want to encourage you today. take what we're saying, think about it, put it in your heart, meditate on it, and ask the Lord to light you up.
That's right.
He'll do it.
And
He'll do it.
the way that you get close to the source is just open this up. Maybe
And we
maybe
didn't
that's-
get through all my points. I mean, we'll do another
We
one.
will.
We'll keep this going on the next one. But
maybe somebody could just open this and just jump into Proverbs.
jump in.
Look it up. Just read some Proverbs, and
Yep.
it'll recharge you. Like the saying goes, if it doesn't light you up, your wood's wet.
meditate on the word, practice the word. Do an act of love, do an act of love, do an act of love. Hey, it's been great to be with you
It's
today.
good stuff, man.
It is
It's
good
good
stuff.
stuff, and
I
I
love
know it's hitting
I'm
the
having a
heart of the
blast.
folks watching this. And
Yeah.
I just I know I say it all the time, but I couldn't think of anybody better to be doing this with. And
Well, same
grateful
here.
for
Really appreciate you.
grateful for you pointing us back to the light.
Hey, thanks for joining us today. Rick and I trust that you heard something that will help your life. And if you believe that it would help others, please make sure and share. Like and subscribe and hit that bell so that you can be notified when the next podcast is available. God bless you, and we'll see you soon.